fans, welcome to episode 156 of the One to Go Show. I'm Ryan Aho. That is the one and only Bert Lehman. Bert, how was your week? How you doing?
Doing all right. Rained all day today, but at least it's not the white stuff.
I'm dealing with a little bit of that right now as we speak. I'm on a little break. I should have been driving right now, but I'm on break to do the show, and I think I'll have some better weather later on tonight. So kind of getting on that backward schedule, which I've been, that's kind of been my whole life anyway. Everybody I know says I'm backwards anyway. So it is what it is. Probably works out better for me this way. But Bert, episode 156 brought to you by our friends at Dirt Track Supply over in Watertown, South Dakota. Of course, home of the Aero Nation, the Aero number 20, making its way down to St. Louis this coming week for the Gateway Dirt Nationals. Excited for Trevor. Good luck to him and all of the other WISSOTA drivers heading down that way. And if there's a few from your area, they're not WISSOTA, but they're still regional. So we'll cheer for them too if they're there. But I tell you what, this is a time of year. It's really the off season. It's shorter, right? The off season's shorter than it's ever been. Even the WISSOTA season, our racing's like the end of October. You know, so I mean, it's very, very much shorter. But this is the time of year. Holiday spirit is in the air, and but people are starting to work on race cars already. I've talked to some drivers, and I said, "What have you been doing?" They're like, "Getting ready for next year." And I remember that grind. It never really ends. I mean, there's not much time off in between seasons. And, you know, if you need parts, you need safety equipment, you need tires, whatever you might need, get a hold of Trevor, get a hold of Ron, Dirt Track Supply over in Watertown, South Dakota, your source for all things racing. So let's start with this, Bert. Let's go back a little bit. Blast to the past. Had a few fans. So fans, I've had, and I get some pretty cool ones. People send me drivers and they're like, "Hey, this one's cool." And they're like, "How about this guy?" It's a blast to the past, right? So if they're still racing, typically we're not talking about that driver, but send them anyway or post them in the comments. You know, some people are sending me stuff. If we don't touch on it during the show, post it in the comments and maybe share a story. I like to hear that kind of stuff. I think it's kind of fun. I believe you do too, Bert. But episode 156, do you have any 156s?
I do not have any 156s.
How about 56?
There's probably more, but I have 156, although technically I think he's still racing, but I don't think he's racing number 56 anymore.
All right. What do you got?
Well, you should, from Iowa.
Okay. I know who you got. Is he running a W? Is it a W? Is that
he's like a big W on the side of his car.
So this gentleman here that you're talking about is the one and only legendary Gary Webb, right? Now this cat here, 1984 and 85 UMP national champion for the late models, inducted into the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame down in Florence in 2008. In 2000, Bert, he won the NASCAR Weekly Series, the championship for NASCAR Weekly Series. Here's a trivia question for you. How much did he get paid to win the NASCAR Weekly Series overall championship in 2000? I'm going to get multiple choice. A, 25,000. B, 50,000. C, 100,000. D, 150,000, or E, $250,000.
I'm gonna go. I'm probably wrong, but I'll go with 25,000.
Bert, it was $150,000. That's insane. This is 2022 years ago. The NASCAR Weekly Series champion, right? And their point format works a little different. They got a premier class, obviously in those areas. It was the late models, but $150,000 to win that championship, Bert. That's unbelievable. That's some That's some real big money. That's big money now. 150,000, but in 2000, I saw that. I'm like, is that a typo? I'm like, holy cow, that's a lot of money. But I raced against Gary Webb. Remember the WDRL model series they had for a couple of years? He came up to the, which is now the Gondik Law Speedway, but he came up to the Superior Speedway and he was racing with that group, and I never got the chance to really meet him. I was just too busy getting my stuff ready. But you know, look up his website, Gary Webb Racing. He won a lot of stuff. And you know, we know of that guy, Bert. Never saw him a ton, right? But the fact of the matter is, imagine how well known that name would be today if he would have done all of that today with social media, live streaming. It would have been a household name in late model racing. So Gary Webb, one of the greats.
Yeah, I mean, in the mid 1990s, there was a twin 25 lap feature at TNT Speedway in Three Lakes, and he made that. I was there with MJ, and I was surprised when Gary Webb pulled into the pits to race. You know, drove all the way from Iowa up to Three Lakes, Wisconsin, to race in twin 25 lap features.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He got around quite a bit, and like you said, he's still getting after it. I don't know how old he is. He's got to be in his 70s, I would have to think, right? But you know, one of the greats, all-time greats in dirt late model racing. Now, you got any other 56s? I got a couple here I'll touch on just briefly.
I do not have any other 56s.
I mean, one, I think we agree with that's the guy. That's the guy. When you say 56, that's the guy. But another name, remember the name Jim Bruggeman? We talked about Jim Bruggeman here, episode 54. Well, I don't know how it was. It's got to be a relation, maybe a brother, cousin. I'm not sure. But Paul Bruggeman ran a 56 as well. He ran in what at the time was super stocks, but they were CLS late models, which is essentially the super stocks of today. He ran those through the 80s, jumped up into a mod. He had a wing modified as well. Sharp looking cars, orange cars, always look really good. But Paul Bruggeman, a guy that raced at the Cedar Lake Speedway many, many nights. Couple old school 56s, Bert. I saw something online. So buddy of mine here posted a picture of the late Chuck Helmer. And it caught my attention for two reasons. One, the sponsor on the side of his car was 56 WEBC radio out of Duluth, out of the Twin Ports. And I thought to myself, I'm like, well, first of all, Gus Omenson, you know, he was always 23, but Gus Omenson, who's a Wasota board member now, he was a flagman for years. He actually had a super stock with 56 WEBC down the side. And then when I saw this picture, I'm like, well, holy crap, there was two cars. This one a lot older. This is an old coupe. This is an old car. But Chuck Helmer, and another reason I remember that name, remember the story of Ron Jones when he drove for my dad, rolled over on the opening lap of the Chuck Helmer Memorial Invitational at Proctor, and then went on to win the feature? That name came to mind right there. So Chuck Helmer from the Twin Ports area, Gus Omenson as well. Another guy, and I got to give myself a donkey award, Bert. I do. Complete and utter jackass move on my part. So 56 wing modified Mike Kelly Jr. Mike Kelly Jr. ran the 01. I remember him as 01, but I do remember him in the 56 car as well. And the dude was a stud. I mean, he won a lot of races. Another legacy family, right? Because you had Mike Kelly Sr., big engine builder in the Twin Cities. I believe Mike Kelly Jr. pitted for or worked for him as well, took it over. And then now you got Patrick Kelly, who's heading to the Dome, running the number 2 car, right? Well, I said, I think he's got a crate, right? He actually messaged me. He goes, are you shitting me? Like, my family builds engines. You think I'm going to run a crate? What the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, my bad. Totally my bad. Donkey award to me. Totally off base on that one. Patrick Kelly does not have a crate. He does not have a crate, but he is heading to the Dome. Sharp looking ride too. Probably the best looking car I've seen him have. So good luck to him down there in St. Louis. And the last one here, Bert, our buddy Lamb, who has Vintage Iron Range Dirt Track Racing. It's a Facebook page. If you're from the region, northern Minnesota, check it out. A lot of cool stuff on there. But I think it was Marvin. Oh man, Marv Grabovy, I think it was. I need to look this up. Good grief, Bert. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Unbelievable. Another donkey award. Why didn't I write this down? I'm gonna blame you, Bert. I'm gonna blame you on that one.
That's fine.
All right. So yeah, I don't have it. Good grief. Anyway, Hobby Stock Racer. I will post it in the comments. And he's an old hobby stocker from up in Hibbing. You know what I do? Good thing. We're professional with this show, right? This is highly professional stuff going on here. Bear with me. Here it is, right here. Marvin Grabovy. He ran a Chevy hobby stocker from Hibbing, and he was worked at parts. He was a parts salesman at the time, but looking at a couple different guys here, Charles Grabovy, he was 19 and raced. So I got a picture of his hot rod. Bert, yeah. Man, like, come on now, killing me. This is unbelievable. But Lem sent me that one, and I remember that name. But back in the day, before pure stocks, before street stocks, the hobby stock class was big old boats, right? My first race car was a 72 Impala. So these were some big old boats going around the racetrack, but an old school one from Hibbing dropped the ball on that one. That's 2 donkey awards to me to start out the show. We're not off to a really good path here. Let's shift gears. Let's have a look ahead, Bert, to the Gateway Dirt Nationals, brought to you by our friend Brad Parson and Agzyme. And we've talked about this several times, right? I mean, we know that the right chemicals does wonders for a lot of different things, right? And the right chemicals will do wonders if you're into farming, crops, all of that. Get a hold of Brad Parson. He has stuff that you can put in your current spray solutions, and you'll be glad you did. Increase your yields, increase your profitability, and the right chemicals is a winning combination. So think back to the Gateway Dirt Nationals, Bert. What sticks out to you? I believe this is the 4th Gateway Dirt Nationals. I think it started in 2018. So
it started in 16.
Did it start in 16?
Yeah, it started in 16, and then they've run every year except for the COVID year.
All right. So my race pass. All right, Ben Shelton. My race pass. Josh Holt. You guys dropping the ball. I looked up the Dome at America Center, I think is what it's called. I looked it up, and the results only went back to 2018. So I'm thinking, must only be 2018. I'm like, well, evidently not. It's 2016. So I don't know why they're behind the.
I'm pretty sure it's six. I mean, I read an article on Flow Racing about what you need to know about the Gateway, and I thought it said 16. Well, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. So that's 5 years. Bobby Pierce has won twice, and Carpenter's won twice. And I don't know who won the other time.
I do not won the other time either. I got Pierce, I got Carpenter. That's the last 3.
Okay.
He won it twice. Did Bishop maybe win one?
I don't remember.
Going back to my race pass.
Well, I think my race pass only goes back 3 years or so. They don't go back further.
For some stuff, right? Because you look at some things and it goes back like 10, 15 years.
Oh, okay.
Or you go back some things and it goes back 2 or 3. So, I mean, they got a lot on their plate, but for us, us racing nerds kind of like to know that stuff a little bit. So, if you have some results from the first 2, 16 and 17, post them in the comments. But I look back, I guess, to the last 3, 18, 19, and 21. The mod prelims went to in 18, Josh Harris in a Mark Bush race car. That's the last car I had, was a Mark Bush car. Kenny Wallace won night 2, and then Mike Harrison, a multi-time UMP national champion, he won the A main. In the late models, Pierce and Bishop won prelims with Bobby Pierce getting it done, and Christopher Bell took the A main in the midgets. 2019, Levi Kessinger and Mike Harrison in the prelims, and Derek Lowe shocked the world in the A main for the modifieds. In the late models, Tyler Carpenter, Shannon Babb, and then Carpenter won his first of 2 Gateway Dirt Nationals with Kyle Larson winning. And then night number 1 in 2021, Nick Hoffman won. Night 2, Chase Allen. Now, Bert, where's Waldo? Is Nick Hoffman okay? I legitimately don't know. Because
I mean, he I don't believe he's raced since his accident. So
he one night, he
one time, okay,
one, and that's it. Like, I think that's all he's been out. So I don't know if he's suffering health issues, if he's got a full plate. I don't know what's going on. If somebody has a little insight of where has Nick Hoffman been, share that in the comments. Hopefully everything's okay. I mean, he's a hell of a race car driver. And then, of course, our very own, the 1 TPO, Tyler Peterson, parking it in victory lane. Now, another guy to watch. So I actually, in our pick'ems, I picked this guy, 17-year-old Michael Ledford last year, Bert, 11th to 2nd. He kind of closed the gap on TPO. TPO straightened it out, drove back away from him. But that 17-year-old kid, he's a sleeper. In the late models, Carpenter and local Miles Moose, they were actually prelim winners with Tyler Carpenter winning. And remember, Jonathan Beeson came, didn't he get put to, I think he went to the back, didn't he? Came from the back to win the midget feature. It was a hell of an exciting.
Yeah.
So with all of that said, okay, I got a question for you. Could Zach Wallers shock the world? Could Zach Wallers win coming down from Grand Rapids, Minnesota, right? Couple feature wins on the year, limited budget guy. Could he park that 71 in victory lane this weekend? Could he do it?
Anything is possible. Qualifying and your starting spot is critical at the Dome. So, I mean, if he, qualifies well and starts near the front, anything's possible.
Okay, now enough with the politically correct shit. Does Bert Lehman think that Zach Wallers can win at the Dome?
Well, last week I said that he would be the highest finishing WISSOTA car. So, sure, he can do it.
I tell you what, I brought this up to a couple people, and they're like, Zach Wallers ain't going to win at the Dome. I think Zach Wallers better than Tyler Carpenter.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, who thought Tyler Carpenter was going to win it? And not only did he win it once, but he won it twice.
This is a great equalizer right here, right? This is the most guys from our area, and a gal, right? We got Amelia going down there as well. But the most drivers from our region ever going to the Dome this year. That's exciting. But Zach Wallers, he's not afraid to get up on the wheel. He's not afraid to make something happen. I'd love to see all of our drivers do well. But I have I got a little bit of a feeling that he's gonna put himself on the map this weekend. Zach Wallers is gonna make some noise at the Dome. Next question I have, putting that to the side. Do you, Bert Lehman, think that Tyler Carpenter is gonna three-peat?
Well, I already answered this question 2 weeks ago.
I want you to answer it again.
He will not three-peat.
I don't think he will either. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think he's going to make the show without a provisional. There's a lot of luck that happens down here. And I think the luck is going to run out, right? I think the luck's going to run out. Now, last year, WISSOTA Racing got put on the map. Tyler Peterson, the 1 TPO, went down to the Dome, hoisted up a big trophy and a $10,000 payday. Will the A main winner in the modified division be a WISSOTA driver in 2022?
No.
You got a horseshit attitude. Right?
Well, right. According to my picks, the answer is no.
Who did you pick?
RTJ.
RTJ. He had some rough luck there last year. He got about everything. Now, You got, I believe there's 4. If I'm missing anyone, I'm sorry. But I got, of course, last year's winner, Tyler Peterson, his little protege there, Joseph Thomas, Trevor Anderson in the 20, and Shane Sabraski in the 7A. Which of those drivers will have the highest finishing position at the Dome?
TPO.
I'm going to save mine for a little bit later. So, this event, Bert, it's unbelievable, right? I mean, this ain't a race, right? There's a lot of special events. We call them, if you're listening to this, I got the quotation marks up, like special events, right? Because everybody's got a special event. This event is truly special. This is a spectacle. This is an event atmosphere. This is far more than just a race. Did you think in a million years, when the first one happened at the Dome, apparently 2016, that it would have grown into what it is today?
No, I didn't. Because I mean, we know how drivers don't like to race on rough tracks, and they don't like to do that sort of thing. And I mean, usually the track is a little rough, and I mean, obviously it's a very tight track, and you know, there's a lot of sheet metal damage. Let's just put it that way. You know, so drivers tend to avoid those events, but so I thought maybe it would lose some of its luster because of that, but it hasn't lost any luster at all. In fact, I mean, it's gaining prestige, in my opinion.
It is, and it's a great equalizer, right? Because you need a little luck, you need to stay out of trouble, you need to have a good qualifying lap. But this year, because of all the character in the track and the turn and burn and the contact, it's an equalizer, right? There's no arrow here. You know, we talk about like arrow has killed racing. Not here. It has not killed racing here. They're hoping to have a body left on their car after the race, not worried about air. So I'm excited for it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday on Flow. Amazing event. Well, let's shift gears. Let's go to the other events going on this weekend. And let's look ahead to the Sunshine State 50. And our look ahead there brought to you by buyraceshirts.com. Jordan Tollickson, Wissota late model driver, you know, great racing family over in Montevideo, taking care of racers for a long time. He just got done getting some hoodies done for a function that we have going on. Appreciate that. Got them to us in a timely fashion, which is awesome. But Jordan does great work. So racers, if you need apparel for 2023, or if you own businesses and you need apparel for your businesses, check out buyraceshirts.com. They do more than just racing stuff. So we're going to head down to Alltech, which is Lake City, Florida, for a doubleheader. Bert, I'm just going to go ahead and ask the question. Was it a jackass move for Barry Braun to schedule the finale for the XR Super Series the same weekend as the Dome?
Yeah, I think it was a bad move to schedule against the Dome. I mean, like I said, I think the Dome is the prestige with that race is building, and then to you know, plan a high-paying event to compete against it, I didn't think was too wise. I mean, I think there's plenty of cars to go around between the two. I mean, I think they're far enough, the tracks are far enough away where they'll both get good car counts, but I think most of the attention is going to be on the Dome.
Yeah, I mean, you look at social media, there's way more talk about the Dome than there is about Florida. I do know some people going to Florida for this race, but the fact of the matter is, you know, if it weren't for a possibility of history being made, I don't even know if I'd watch. I mean, not that it has bad racing, and I hope they have a good turnout, but it's just, there's other weekends, and that's an ego thing right there when you schedule against like the premier event of December. That's just weird to me, but hopefully it goes well. But that leads me to this. I was talking to Jeff earlier, and Jeff asked the question. He goes, okay, so there's no point racing at either one. There's no championship to be had, no point fund money. If you were a driver that lived right in the middle, okay, and you had a choice, right, of going to Florida to race, you know, the Sunshine State 50, the XR Super Series event, or if you had the opportunity to go to the Dome, which direction would you go and why?
I think it kind of depends. I guess, I mean, if you don't want a lot of damage to your car, you probably stay away from the Dome. But if you're looking for what's the word I'm looking for? Some, I guess, media attention for your race team. The Dome is going to get far more media attention than XR is, just from the fact that Flow Racing, it's going to be on Flow Racing, and yes, I know XR is a streaming service also, but let's be honest. I mean, if you, to a casual fan, if you say XR, you say Flow Racing, chances are Flow Racing's they're gonna know what Flow Racing is before they know what XR is. I mean, no disrespect to XR. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, Flow Racing just has so much, and you know, the other media websites and stuff, you know, push the Dome more. And I think part of that is because, you know, XR scheduled over the top of the Dome, and you know, there's some pushing back and forth for notoriety in the industry.
He's not afraid to upset the apple cart. I can tell you that. I guess he kind of very reminds me of me in some regards. I guess like he's not afraid to throw some warning shots across the bow and kind of do his own thing, and unapologetically just gonna make his stuff happen, not care what anybody else has going on. I can kind of respect that in a regards, but as a race fan, I'm like, I'm focused on the Dome, but I am focused on one thing at Alltech. JD, Superman, Jonathan Davenport has a chance to make history. Okay. I predicted a couple weeks back he's not hitting 2 million. That was my prediction. It's a tall task, Bert. I think he's got to get, I believe he has to finish top 2 night 1 and win night 2 to surpass, to be the first dirt racer of any kind to eclipse the 2 million in earnings mark in a single season. I don't think it's going to happen, but man, I hope it does. I really do, because that would be incredible. I mean, do you think he can make that happen?
Well, I'm picking him for both nights. So, and I've said over the last couple of weeks, I said that he was going to do it. So I can't turn back now. So I'll stay with my prediction.
So let's take a look at the events they had this year at Alltech. Down in Alltech in February, 3rd and 5th, they had a pair of Lucas Oil races. Brandon Shepard won night 1. He's going to be at Gateway. Jimmy Owens won night 2. JD got 3rd both nights. So he was there, but he was 3rd. In April 22nd and 23rd, the XR Super Series came to town. T-Mac won night 1. JD got 5th. JD did win on night number 2. So in the last 4 events at Alltech, his worst finish is 5th. Best finish is 1st, with an average finish of 3rd. It don't matter where he is, he's good, but clearly he's good there. So, man, good luck, JD. It'd be fun to see him get that done.
And, I mean, the fact that the 2 races are competing against each other, you know, some of the top drivers won't be there, so there'll be less top-tier drivers you'll have to compete against.
Right. So looking back at the XR Super Series, they kind of come in with a storm this year, right? They shook things up. I mean, it's their 2nd year, but they had just a handful of shows the year before. You know, looking back at this, Madden, who's kind of tapered off. From what I understand, Madden's not going to be at Alltech. I think he's done. He won at Cherokee, and he said that's enough for the year. But Madden looks like he has, 1, 2, 3, 5 wins on the year. So he leads the way. JD has 4. So Madden has 5 wins. He ain't going either, Bert. That helps out JD's cause. That really does, because Madden's a player. JD has 4 wins. You know who's run really well at these XR events is Shane Clanton. Clanton quietly 1, 2, 3, 4, got 4 as well, Bert. And out of the last 3 series they were at Gonick for a pair, Kokomo for a pair, and then at Vegas for 3. He won at least one of those races at each of the last 3 swings in the XR Super Series. So for some reason, Shane Plant rises to the occasion on these XR Super Series events. That guy right there could maybe be a thorn in the side for Superman. Could he be the kryptonite down there? We'll find out. So you personally, we talked about it a little bit. You know, we're both kind of leaning towards the Dome. I'm sure we'll both be tuned in to both of them, right? How many people are going to be at the Dome watching the feature at Alltech on their social media? I'd say a pretty high percentage. Now, imagine, Bert, if these guys played nice together, right? If they actually played nice, I mean, why not put it up on the screen? Hey, this is what's going on the downtime. Have the people. They won't do that because they do not like each other, from what I understand. But you know, that's kind of the world we're getting to. I mean, is there a time, Bert, do you think that we're gonna see maybe it's Flow. Maybe Flow has 7-8 races going on, or Dirt Race Central, where there's downtime at a race, right? There's downtime all the time, watering the track prep, all that stuff. Is there going to be a time where they cut, and then while the downtime's going on, they're playing a main from another racetrack? Can you see that happening in the future?
I could see that happening in the future. Obviously, depending if the promoters of the tracks get along with each other. Obviously, if they don't get along, then I don't see it happening. But I mean, you have to promote the sport as a whole. And granted, I mean, you don't want to. I mean, it's no secret what other tracks are going on at the same time. So, I mean, it's not like if you don't show it, you know, people aren't going to know about it and they're not going to tune in. I mean, like you said, I mean, everybody's tuning in on their, you know, could be tuning in on their phones. So, you know, I could see one day where that could happen.
I think we're going to see all kinds of craziness happen in the next couple of years. So really, this is the last big event. When is the Chili Bowl? Is that in January, or is that the end of the month here?
That's January, mid-January.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, this is it. I mean, there's some stuff going on, some regional stuff, you know, to close out the season in a couple different areas. But when it comes down to it, this is it. This is the finale of the year as far as big races go. You know, Alltech has, of course, the XR Super Series. Dirt in December, right? Gateway Dirt Nationals has become a spectacle. I'll be tuning in. I promise. We'll be watching it. We'll have some recaps for everybody. Hopefully, some exciting stuff happens that we can share on next week's show. So that's kind of it as far as the racing stuff for, you know, like for 2023.
Yeah, and actually, did you see that XR? They released their schedule for next year. And
I see that.
Somebody made it. Well, this was my reaction when I first saw it too. Was it looks like there's a lot less races than were on this year's schedule. And somebody made a comment on Facebook about that, and Barry replied something to the effect that, well, we're not scheduling over other programs or something like that. So, you know, there were less weekends to choose from.
You know what? If that's the case, that's super cool, right? Mm-hmm. If that's the case, I hope that's accurate, because it's just better for racing, you know, to not be all scheduling on top of each other. I mean, as a race fan, we want to see all the top drivers at all the events, and I get it. This, you know, give them a little shit for this deal at the end of the year, scheduling on top of Dirt in December. We don't know, I guess, the inner workings of that. Maybe the promoters down at Alltech said, this is it. This is the weekend you get. That's it. That's there is no other weekend. You know, maybe it was out of its control. I don't know, right? But if they can all work together, it's just going to be that much better for everybody involved.
Right, because I mean, actually, for the December race, it has to be announced the date. So So yeah, so hopefully next year that they won't be scheduled against each other.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's all the racing coming up this week. And has it started to cool down a little bit from regarding the Hoosier situation?
Yeah, I told Bob I wasn't going to talk about it this week on the show, but I talked to Don as well, and Don's like, "You better talk about it because I got something you need to talk about." So there's been a lot going on. So first thing is Don Shaw corrected me, and he said, at this time, the increase in tire price is only for the 2023 season, not for 2024. So I'll take one on the chin there. I hope that's correct. I talked to a couple board members and they're like, well, we thought it was for both. There was a lot of, we thought this and we thought that, and a lot of miscommunication and nothing in writing and all that. So hopefully, if they go through with this deal, it'll be just for 2023, not for 2024. But typically, if they increase the price, in my mind, right, I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, right? But in my mind, if you increase the price, you're probably not going to say, well, you can go ahead and pay less next year. That usually once it goes up, it's going to stay up, is usually how it is. So I guess we'll find out there. And then I had another former promoter reached out to me and they said, hey, you're spot on. The issue that everybody has with this is, giving that money away to Hoosier out of the pockets of the drivers, right? Without any guarantees or assurances like that the racers are going to benefit as a result. There's a lot of like, we hope they, we think this might help or whatever, but there's no assurances. Well, two things. Number one is the tracks get they call it Hoosier money. So a little history lesson here for fans and promoters and drivers and all that. So back in 2006, 2007, in the area, Bert, you remember the DTRA? Remember that game? So that all started, Cedar Lake wanted to go Goodyear's for late models. And they were told, if you're going to go for late models, we ain't sanctioning you at all. There was a big fallout between the people that were leadership at that time, different leaders with WISSOTA than what's there today. But there was a big fallout, like a big, just a argument, big fight. Like, you're either going to sanction all the classes or none of the classes, which you look around WISSOTA, there's a ton of co-sanctioned tracks, right? At the time there already was. Deer Creek was co-sanctioned with USRA mods. So they played a power move and they said, no, we're not going to let that happen. If you want to go Goodyear with them, you might as well go Goodyear with everything. So they did. And Cedar Lake has not been WISSOTA since. Okay. Big mistake on WISSOTA's leadership part at that time. But not only, Bert, did they go Goodyear, right? They got together with some folks and they formed what was the Dirt Track Racing Association. And they took some big players in the game. River City Speedway in Grand Forks, DTRA. Gondik Law Speedway in Superior, Wisconsin, DTRA. There was several others. They had a national point fund. I know this guy that won it both years. I'm just kind of worked out pretty good for me, I will say. But the fact of the matter is, there was a lot of talk that, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start pulling more tracks into this, right? And they were going to start to grow that DTRA organization. But the Goodyear tire deal ended up being the demise of it all. There was a bunch of issues with the Goodyear deal. Well, in that process, before everybody knew that that deal was falling apart, Hoosier Tire got a little bit nervous. And they said, hey, here's the deal. We'll put a little carrot out there for everybody. For the tracks that want to stay with WISSOTA, we will give you $1,500 per WISSOTA sanctioned track that runs on, you got to run on Hoosier tires, a limit of 4. So anything over 4, you don't. So each track had the potential of getting a check every year from Hoosier for $6,000. Okay. If they had 4 WISSOTA classes that run Hoosier tires. That was all a reaction to competition. Okay. That was competition. Hoosier's like, wait a second here. They're coming in our corner. We're gonna throw some money at these tracks to get them to stay. Okay, fine. That's fine. Tracks benefited, all worked out, not a big deal. Well, these tracks have got that money ever since I believe 2007 would have been the first year they got that check. I think it was 2007. And these promoters, and this came from a former promoter that reached out to me that listens to the show. And this promoter said, these promoters that voted to give Hoosier this extra money for no apparent reason had no problem taking money out of the pockets of the racers. Fair. I agree. We talked about this. If they feel that Hoosier truly needs this money, why don't they give their Hoosier checks back? So I went through this and counted how many sanctioned tracks, and I feel like I'm right on, but I might be off by one or two. So between all the tracks that are sanctioned with SOTA and the amount of classes, the checks that they'd get, that dollar amount, Bert, $195,000 worth of $1,500 Hoosier checks going to tracks. Okay, so the max you can get is $6,000. That seems pretty similar, somewhere in the ballpark of how much money we're giving Hoosier, drivers are giving Hoosier. The tracks should have gave, if they wanted that, they should have said, here's the deal. Keep the Hoosier checks. Doesn't affect the racer then, right? Doesn't affect the racer. Keep the Hoosier checks. And Bert, I'll be honest with you. There's several people, there's several tracks, me included, that I could go out in one day and generate enough sponsorship money for a racetrack to offset that $6,000. Some of those tracks only get $1,500 because they have one class, or $3,000 if they have two classes. So if they felt that was necessary to give all that money to Hoosier, okay, take it out of the Hoosier checks then. Don't take it from the drivers. But I will say this, had some conversations here, some off the record, so I got to be careful on how I word this, okay? I'm just going to say, be patient. Be patient. Shit is happening, okay? Be patient, because there are conversations being had right now about this whole deal, right? That there are things happening, and we'll wait to see how that all transpires. And when that all comes to a head, I will share the news, but things are happening right now as far as talks with Hoosier Racing Tires. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this whole situation. So I will say this, I think with SOTA as an organization is starting to get some pretty good thinkers involved with them that understand business, and that's good to see. That'll be if it all comes to a head, that's going to be a good thing for the racers. So stay tuned. It's not all negative in the Hoosier front. There could be some positivity coming. So Bert, let's jump into the last lap. Brought to you by Frank Zulli, Zulli's Race Engines. You know what we say all the time, Bert. No different than the Aero chassis. Great product. Zulli Race Engines. If you can't beat them, join them. You better get on the list now. This cat builds a lot of engines. They win a lot of races. All you got to do is go to Zulli's Race Engines on Facebook, and they post all their winners, championships. There's a lot of them every single week. We got a list. Get on that list. Get your motor or get your engine ordered, so that way you can be one of those drivers getting recognized for finishing up front in 2023. So, Bert, got to switch over. There's a little sad news. One of them hits pretty darn close to home, I'll be honest with you, but we'll start with Dennis Mosier from out in South Dakota, a gentleman that I remember him racing number 63 and never really had the opportunity to meet him. His kid raced for a while as well. A few stats on this guy. He lost his life here just a few days back in the last week. 1976 sportsman champion at the Dakota State Fair Speedway in Huron. 1977, 84, 86, and 87 sportsman champ at Aberdeen. 88, he won the late model championship at the Casino Speedway in Watertown. And 5, late model champion at Aberdeen, Brown County Speedway. And 35 sportsman wins in Aberdeen, 8 in Huron, 6 in Watertown. 8 late model wins at Casino and 2 in Aberdeen. And Bert, I saw all over Facebook, drivers from that region. They said this guy here was one of the good guys in racing. Sad that I never got an opportunity to meet him myself, but I had many people texted me and said, "Hey, not sure you heard, but we lost Dennis," and it's a bad deal. I mean, racing, Bert, we don't always get along. Let's just be honest. I mean, it's like a family reunion. Sometimes you're ready to throw down, right? But at the end of it all, it's a big racing family. And thoughts and prayers to his family, his racing family and friends out in South Dakota. And one lost too young. Another one here, this one here really hits a little harder, is Gabe Peterlin, which would be Kyle Peterlin, the 20 late model driver. That would be his grandpa and legacy. We lost Carol here, I believe it was last year. Gabe just passed away here in the last few days. And the legacy that he left, I remember, Bert, when I was a kid, they had the Cobb Cook Grocery, and Larry Peterlin ran the Cobb Cook Grocery car, and then Pete Wallers, which is Zach Waller's dad, 2-time Wissota Superstock national champion, his primary sponsor, Cobb Cook Grocery, which is Gabe and Carol. And they had car shows every single year. And I'll just say it, Lamb or somebody, I'll help, whatever we got to do, Bravo, whatever. We should do a car show this year for 2023 at Cobb Cook Grocery, kind of in remembrance of them. I think that's kind of cool. Pretty easy to put together. We should make that happen. But I remember the car shows there, multiple sponsorships. I mean, he sponsored lots of cars, sponsored the racetrack, heavily involved. Carol was heavily involved, and just the legacy. The Peterlin name in racing in northern Minnesota is a big name. They've been around for a long time. So thoughts and prayers to the Peterlin family and Trevor Aarons. That's another grandson of his as well that raced. But thoughts and prayers to all of them, and a tough loss for the northern, I guess, the Iron Range racing community. So, Bert, it's our final week of points. Final. And I just don't want to give up yet. You got a big lead. I'll be honest, I hope you stuff it in the fence. I do. I want you to right front roll up, pound it in the concrete, done, night 1. We're picking 3 nights at the Dome. We're picking, so all 6 features. We're going to pick 2 nights down at All-Tech. I think mathematically even, I think you got this deal locked for the 2nd straight year, which is horse shit. 2nd is up for grabs. It's between me and some flat-billed dude that I can't. I'm catching them this week. Bert, I'm going to pass them up.
Well, the way he's making his picks this week, you if you don't catch them,
I'll be disappointed. Yeah, he just throws down there. He picked that guy, right? He picked Brandon Shepard all 3 nights. It's like, dude, you don't run 2 Prelim nights. What are you doing, Puka? Come on, man. And I'm losing to that. What the hell? How can I lose to that? That's painful. That's painful. But Bert is you're getting her done, man. So we're gonna get back to our we're gonna close with this, right? 3 bold predictions. And the ones we talked about last week were more geared towards off season, the Dome. So nothing really came. We don't really have any that we're right or wrong on from last week. No updates there. But what are your 3? Give me your 3. Actually, let's do this. You give me one, I'll give you one. Let's go back and forth.
All right. My first one is Tanner English wins a prelim feature.
Tanner English wins a prelim feature.
He almost won this race one year. There was some controversy at the end on one of the restarts.
There was, and I remember him kind of storming down into the infield. He was not happy. Was that with Gordy Gunbaker?
Yeah, I think he was involved, and I think Bobby Pierce wound up winning the feature that year.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Jungle Boy, Zach Wallers, is going to finish top 5 in his prelim.
All right. Well, I already mentioned this, but I had it down here. RTJ wins the mod feature.
Never heard of him. That's a pretty good bet. RTJ can win in anything, so it's pretty tough. That's probably a pretty good odds. 3 of the top 5 in the late model A main will be from the Illini state.
Okay. My final one is between the late model and modified divisions, there will be at least 3 WISSOTA drivers qualifying for those features.
Between
So
mods and states,
a combination of late model mod drivers.
Okay. Shane Sabraski will be the highest finishing WISSOTA driver. Everybody says, oh, this ain't Shane's type of deal. Shane's a smooth momentum guy. Shane ran snowcross, right? Shane has over 800 feature wins. They weren't all smooth and dry. The dude can wheel, right? And I want all of our drivers to finish up front, but I have a feeling that Shane Sabraski is going to go down there, make some noise in that 7A. And I'm not saying he's going to win, but he's going to be the highest finishing WISSOTA driver between all the classes. So good luck to all the drivers going down there. We're going to all be pulling for you. I mean, it gives us something to kind of watch, right? It's that time of year. It's one thing to watch the Dome, but it's even more fun watching drivers at the Dome. So we're excited about that. Hopefully y'all come back in one piece and have a good time, have some success down there. But, got to shout out to the sponsors again, right? We got Dirt Track Supply, Impact Health Sharing. We got Brad Parson with Agzyme. Got to thank Zuli Race Engines. Got to thank, let me kind of look through here. We got buyraceshirts.com, Dirt Track Supply for giving us Dirt Track Supply, I said, but Dirt Race Central, I'll say them too for all the footage. Huge thanks to Mason Aaron videos. A lot of great content. Check out his stuff. He does a great job. But I think that's it, right? Impact Health Sharing. I probably should mention that one too. If you're, and I don't think I even mentioned that earlier. So Impact calls with that. I mean, that time of year, Impact Health Sharing. If you are in the market for health insurance, you're paying too much, get a hold of me. Might be able to help you out. Been able to save people a lot of money, Bert, on healthcare. Literally looking at right around $600 per month for a family with a $2,500 combined deductible, and you can go to any doctor. So if you're paying more than that, it's worth a look. I can at the very least get you a quote and get you over some information. You can decide if it's for you or not at that point. But it's been a really good product. So with that said, Bert, 156 in the book, 157 coming up. Tell you, it's been a good year. We're gonna kind of start toning her down here. Let the fans know we're gonna get into a little bit of power ranking stuff. And fans, if you have anything that you're like, hey, here's a hot topic, or talk about this, shoot us over some questions, shoot us over some thoughts. But we'll try to kind of mix it up here. We got a few weeks of kind of an off season here, so to speak. So we'll make sure to have some content out there for you guys, but we'll try to mix it up a little bit and have something interesting anyway. So Bert, always a pleasure talking racing, man.
Yep, I agree. You can never do too much of that.
Absolutely not. So again, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Ryan Aho. That is the Bert Lehman. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.